During that course of time, I picked up roughly 200 patents, and so was very active in inventing and innovating. From that,
All right. You've got a lot of patents, Sam. 200 patents. That's amazing.
it just shows you there's a lot of ideas out there that haven't been considered, and I'm thinking there's just many more.
Welcome to Embracing Digital Transformation, where we investigate effective change leveraging people, process, and technology. This is Darren Pulsford, Chief Solution Architect, author, and most importantly, your host. On today's episode, Embracing Innovation in Large Corporations, with CEO and founder of Inspire AI, Sam Zelner. All right, Sam, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Darren. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
Hey, it's been a while since we talked because I've been so busy I haven't been able to record things. But before we talk about innovation and capturing innovation, everyone that comes on my show is a superhero. Period. I don't have anyone that's not a superhero on the show, and every superhero has a background story. Super Sam Zelner, what is your background story?
Well, I guess Midwestern boy, grew up in Chicago on the South Side, the University of Chicago. Uh, I went to school at Northwestern, got my engineering degree, got an MBA from the University of Chicago. Went into the telephone company in technology. Spent years there doing research on new technology. During that course of time, I picked up roughly 200 patents, and so was very active in inventing and innovating. From that,
All right. You've got a lot of patents, Sam. 200 patents. That's amazing.
it just shows you there's a lot of ideas out there that haven't been considered, and I'm thinking there's just many more. Remember
Well,
our
and it's
founders. I'm sorry, I was going to say, remember our founders when they did the patent office? They thought, well, we won't have many ideas. That's probably all of them. No more new ideas, and
well,
obviously,
didn't they almost shut it down in
that's
the
right.
late 1800s?
Right. They thought all the ideas, all the innovative ideas have been patented, and so there's no need for
Oh my goodness.
it.
Well, I'm glad they're still around because I've got my patents on the wall behind me.
I see
I don't
that.
have
Very impressive.
200.
Well, it's
I've
very
only got
impressive.
8.
That's
But I'm working on some more. I got some crazy ideas. But so you're an idea generation capture machine. I mean, 200. That's incredible.
I just love change. And I'm also a believer that innovation is a positive thing. Obviously, there's always a little baggage with new ideas, new concepts, but I think generally it helps to improve the world.
Well, isn't this a big problem for like large small organizations tend to be able to handle change better and new innovations, and they can move on a dime and they can do those things. But large organizations, there are so many big, huge, too big to fail corporations that some don't even exist anymore. Some are a shell of what they used to be. First one comes to mind is Kodak.
Oh yeah, and of course the humorous thing is right. They were at the forefront of digital technology, and they didn't believe in it. Right? Didn't believe in it. Let go by, and so I mean that
Yeah,
just
most people don't know that. They think Kodak just did film. No, they had digital cameras. They were right there at
they,
the
they were right there. They just couldn't
pinnacle.
believe. They couldn't believe that digital would be of the quality of film. It just that can't be. And coming from the telephone industry, you're gonna laugh, but remember when cell phones were coming out, we were like, people use cell phones for the landline? Oh, not a chance. The quality is terrible. Not a chance. And then the amazing thing is, it just shows you how hard assumptions are to break here, Darren. The same thing I heard in a meeting come up with data. Oh, people would never use it. They'd use wireless for data? No, no, no. Always wired for data. Never wireless for data.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing how hard it is to change. There's a book, I can't think of the author. I apologize, but it's called "The Experts Speak," and I love it because, no, I don't think it's being printed anymore, but basically had experts in all kinds of fields making statements that are just totally wrong. You know, the admiral of the Navy saying the idea of having airplanes land on ships is absolutely crazy. It will never happen. Yeah, all kinds of great quotes there.
Well, you spoke a little bit of military right there. I know the military. I do a lot of work with the military, and the war in Ukraine has turned the apple cart upside down, where a $2,500 drone is blowing up an $80 million tank. All of a sudden, oh my goodness!
Right. It's amazing how some of
It,
these things come on, and you're like, wow, the game has changed.
yeah, it's
And it,
very
and
disruptive.
it makes it it's very hard for people who have been in the industry for a long time to say, hey, your assumptions about the world need to be modified. And that's where, the thing is that what's interesting, Darren, is that this is what makes innovation hard because people look at the world with these set of assumptions just to make it easier, I believe, to handle everything. And so what happens is those assumptions become like little blinders on the horse.
Yeah, of
And
course.
then the funny thing is when you pull those blinders away, then the solution's obvious in many times. It's right there. And that's why I always think it's sort of interesting how people will say after the fact, oh, I was already thinking that too. Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, you could use drones to do that. Or I was thinking this. Yeah, already. Yeah. But guess what?
But you
You
didn't
weren't.
do
You
it.
weren't thinking. Yeah, you weren't thinking it. It just seemed so obvious afterward because you've gotten rid of that assumption, and it's hard.
Do you think that the longer you're in industry, the harder? The first thing that popped in my head, we should be looking at innovation in the elementary schools
Oh,
before they're totally, because all school does is put blinders on things, conformity, right? It's like,
now I'm not going to be beating on schools. They're
no,
trying to
but
teach
our
things, but it's
society as a
hard.
whole
It's
does
hard
that.
not to put assumptions in there as you're
Yeah,
teaching. You're starting to create some, and that's why everybody's like, "Wow, kids are so creative." Well, they're creative because they don't have any prior assumptions, so
exactly,
they, you know,
exactly.
I guess this could. I guess boats could fly, right? Yeah, kids would say, "Sure, why not?" Where we would be like, "No, they can't. They're too heavy." Blah blah blah. So it's
So maybe we go get our crazy ideas from elementary schools and middle schools before
all the
we've
blinders come in.
blinders come on. And I know it in industry as well. It's harder the longer you've been in industry. You already have gone down the road of hard knocks. I already went down that direction. That's not a good direction to go down.
Right.
So you avoid it. You're like, I'm not headed down there because that's painful. But there could be something interesting down that path. There could be new innovation.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's the tricky thing. Like you said, hey, I've tried that before, Darren. It's a waste of time. It's too costly. There's all kinds of issues trying to make things like that. So don't waste your time going down that path. Just go down the regular path we always go down. The problem is, of course, somebody doesn't tell you. Guess what? Things have changed in that path. There's new manufacturing techniques. There's new whatever. And guess
Yeah,
what? Now
something's
it's
changed.
reliable. It's cheaper, all these things. So it is really hard. You got to somehow keep yourself constantly looking at your assumption set and ask, has something changed within that assumption set? And that's where I think it's useful, and we're hearing a lot of having a mixture of people, young people, old people, people from different cultures, different backgrounds, so that they come in with different viewpoints. And and some of it will be treading old ground. Hey, what about doing this? We've tried it. Let's try it again.
It
No, it
doesn't work.
still
Yeah.
doesn't work. Yeah, nothing's changed. Yeah. So
But so how do you balance? Because I could see I'm chasing innovation all the time. I'm not getting anything done.
you do
Right.
have
I
to
mean,
be. You have to
companies
be
are in the business of making money and profit. Let's be serious about that, right? And
right.
even in government, they have productivity. They have something they're aiming to get done, not just innovation for innovation's sake. We've seen that happen before. IBM Labs. Intel labs, Kodak or Xerox labs, Xerox Palo Alto, right?
Right. Oh yeah, famous, famous. Yep.
Famous, right? They come up with killer ideas that never get commercialized, right? They're just moving innovation along, but every once in a while something comes out of them, but they're not known for productizing their innovation.
Well, I see. This is where I think it's important. You have a number of different types of, I'll call it types of innovation, right? You have
Okay.
completely free-form innovation. A lot of R&D people, at some level, or let's put the scope of their research is much wider than somebody in the operations area, or manufacturing area. So I think you got to think about these different types of, what are people trying to accomplish? And I think generally people will say, if you're doing R&D, you're looking for bigger innovations. And typically, if you're doing something in maybe manufacturing, the operations side, the day-to-day engineering, you're in some ways looking for more constrained innovations. Um, but I think one of the things
Oh,
I like
yes.
to bring up to people is, I think it's important to understand how people innovate. There's really two types of innovators. I don't, and this is not scientific, so don't hold me to it. But my observation over the years is 5% of the people are spontaneous innovators, as I call them. They're always thinking about innovation. They're looking at things around, and they'll come up with ideas. But for people, most people, it's more about what's the problem. Darren, you want me to come up with an idea? I can come up with an idea, but you got to tell me what problem you want me to
What the
focus on.
problem space is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's important to understand because that's how most people are operating. Then you need to set up problem statements for these people to focus in on. And that's positive because now you're not asking to focus in on things that aren't relevant to your company. You're getting focused on things that are important to your company. If it's
Because
about cost
you
savings, you
constrained them.
constrained it. Yeah. So you say, look, I'm looking for ideas on how to save money because the company is going into a more competitive environment. Our margins are getting pressure. So I need people to think about cost savings. I'm not asking you to come up with new products. I'm not asking you to make people feel happier. I'm talking about cost savings. So doing things like that help. So back to your question of, should I be just thinking all the time about innovation? No. Most of the people in the company, I need you to focus on a specific problem, a strategic problem. And so that's where you get that difference. And Google
No,
was
I
one who was right. They were saying, hey, we'll give people 10% of their time to think on anything. So they've sort of said, I don't want you spending, 45% of your time on anything. So,
right. That's interesting. When you brought that up, the first thing that popped into my head was the difference between Tesla and Edison. Edison always had a problem he was attacking, relentless. Where Tesla was more like,
let's just,
let's
yeah,
come up with something crazy and see what we can do with it. But you need both types of people in your organization, right?
yeah. And you, I mean, think about it. Like right now, a lot of organizations going through, how should we be using AI, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
helpful to have somebody just say, I think I can apply it over here. I can apply it over here, and things like that. And for people who are working on problems, it's a little harder. It's like you're giving me a tool, but you haven't told me what problem to work
What?
with.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's you need both those skill sets, obviously.
Well, and the latter one, the one that hey, I've got a problem with. I got a problem. Let's find a solution. That's something I can actually capitalize on, whether it's reducing costs or selling a new product or improving efficiency or yields, whatever.
Right.
The other is a little bit harder to capture because you're asking people to think outside with no guardrails whatsoever. So, how have you seen organizations capture things outside of their normal business? This crazy
Well,
thought
I
type
well, I
things.
think I think again, I think of it as push and pull type of innovation. So the push innovation is where people just come up with ideas wherever, and they push them on you as an innovation team. And you want some of that, but you got to be a little more mature in terms of an organization to handle it because they're coming from all kinds of areas. and some are relevant and some are not relevant at all. Some people, will see some inefficiency going on within the business. Like, hey, something when we break a product, we're still bundling it up and sending it out to the customer. We should have a method in which the person can press the button and say, the product's broken, we're not going to send it out. Save ourselves a lot of delivery and wasted time. Um, so those, you're going to get some of those push things and that are easy to recognize and easy to appreciate, and then you're going to
Right.
get some that are just going to be off the wall. And then the pull type are the ones where you're saying, hey, here's a problem. We need some solutions around this problem. So you've told people specifically focus in on this. So I think of it that way, and that's why I tell people don't start off with push. I take ideas from anywhere because that's really hard. It's
Well, yeah, that could get you distracted. Look at
it gets
that's
you
what happened with Google, right?
it can get you just it's overwhelming. You got to be able to do triage very well. And so if you're a new corporation, a new company at this whole innovation game, you know take take your pull first, so it's focused, you can easily handle it, and then slowly expand out.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So let's shift gears a little bit. Um, I'm a big proponent of generative AI. I think it's game changing, especially when it comes to brainstorming. I use Gen AI all the time to brainstorm new ideas and new things like that. Do you see that sort of thing happening in large corporations as well? Or do you see it as a danger to large corporations where an individual like me, I can start a whole new company overnight with a Gen AI helping me with ideas and do a
Well,
lot of things that I would normally have a huge team to help me do.
Well, Darren, I would say people that are starting new companies within your corporation, you can't stop them.
Yes, that's true. That's
What
true.
you can do is make a better work environment, make them appreciate, how you can take advantage of ideas and get, compensated in some way in different fashions, and also make people appreciate that starting your new business is risky and there's a lot of risk, a lot of investment, and all that. So it's not a trivial thing. So when I was working with intellectual property, I had a lot of people say, Sam, I got this really good idea, and probably going to make the company billions of dollars. And so, why should I give it to you? So I can go through the first statement is, of course, if you use company resources, blah 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 blah, the company owns the idea. That's part of the agreement you made when you came to work here. But beyond that, keep in mind that if you're going to try and start your own company, it's very risky. Most startups don't work; they fail. People, mortgage their house and all that. And if you're ready to do that, that's great. But personally, if it was me, I think I'd take a little experience from a couple ideas because you'll have multiple ideas. So take one of those ideas, see how the company does, see how it fares, so you can find out. Seemed like a good idea, and turned out it wasn't a good idea. Oh, sorry for the company. I didn't lose any money. Maybe I even got an award for it. So learn from it and do it back. So that's the simple answer. But talking about AI, it is a powerful tool, and I think you had Dr. Schmidt who was speaking in
Yeah.
the other programs. Very, very well spoken. I highly recommend listen to those podcasts that you had. They were very good. And he brought out how this is accelerating things and is an opportunity to empower people. You don't have to be a programmer. These things are very powerful tools. So the only thing is, which is tricky here, is again, innovation's broad term. When we talk about innovation as in what I call ideas, that's one thing, and generative AI and all that can work into that. But then when you start talking about patents and innovations, well, remember,
That's a
right now
different
at least,
story.
it's a different world. The legal people are very concerned about AI being an inventor. So you need to take it a little differently. So, and not to
Well,
make the
hey,
world complex, but there are some differences there, and both are important. But I think that doesn't mean you can't use AI for both of them. And in our product, we have that in there. You got to you got to tune things a little differently, and we tune them a little differently for each of those environments. But AI can help tremendously in coming up with ideas and also testing your ideas, getting reaction to it. You can do black hat, white hat, that type of exercise with your ideas. There's a lot of opportunity there, and that's why we have embraced AI within Inspire IP in our product because we think it's a lot of capabilities. Again, People are at different levels. We understand that. And one of the things, that open source AI prior art search engine that I'm leading called PQAI, Patent Quality Artificial Intelligence, that's a good example of how AI can help you in terms of figuring out whether your idea is novel or not. Before doing a Boolean search was very hard. If I had an
Yeah.
idea for a cell phone, wireless phone, mobile phone, how many different names can I give it to make sure the system found the right piece of art? Well, that's gone now. I just write in my idea, describe it, and the system is smart enough to understand the concept and look at concepts, not looking at words, looking at concepts. So,
So that's really interesting because yeah, doing searches has always been a pain for patent, but not just patents, but trademark and copyright, all these
or
sorts of
just general
things.
ideas, just looking for
Or
general ideas,
yeah,
very hard.
very hard. So with this, I'm able to now look at things differently. So I'm not spending lots of resources on an idea that there's already a patent for
Right,
that I could run into problems. But let's turn that on its side a little bit. In countries where they don't believe in intellectual property rights, like
right.
China is a great example, couldn't they just scour through and use this and say, hey, I'm looking for something that will process a widget into a gadget and, you know,
Yep, yep, yep.
show me
I
all the
mean,
patents that will help me
remember.
do
Let's
that.
let's keep in mind, the concept, the reason behind the patent was you wanted to share knowledge, and that was the reason our
There you go.
forefathers, designed the patent concept. We want to share knowledge so people can build on it, and that's one of the things that I tell people: if you have an idea and you go to PQAI and you search it, and there's somebody who already has your idea, I tell people two things. One is, hey, kudos, you are thinking the right way. Somebody patented it. Your timing was off. Darren, your timing was off. You should have thought of it sooner, but that's okay.
Right.
You were on the right track if somebody already did it. So now look at what they did and build upon that. I mean, that's the idea here. You can look at what they did and say, that was very good.
But
They did A and B,
build something
but
on top of it.
they forgot about C, and now do that. Or what would be the next generation product after that, or the next generation solution after that. That's what we're about. And I think that's what's so much fun about innovation. It allows everybody to participate.
All right. So let's say I've got a company I'm in, a good sized company. Let's say we do
Yeah,
a couple $1 billion a year in revenue. That's a big company.
good times.
And I want to put together an innovation program because I want to capture innovation in my organization because I don't want people going off somewhere else. I want to come up with some way of capturing it and enabling people and empowering people. How do I start?
So keep in mind that there's no shortage. My belief, there's no shortage of good ideas. There's a lot of good ideas out there, and your employees. Who knows your business better than your employees?
Yeah, your
And
employees do. Yeah.
they have a lot of ideas, but don't assume that one they understand that you want them. Right? They've been doing their job. Nobody's been really asking for ideas. So, yeah, things could be better, but nobody really wants to know. And if you expect that the supervisor will take those ideas, well, the supervisor might take the idea if it's within their domain. But
Right.
if somebody says, hey, you know something? I noticed, we've been putting the boxes together, but I've noticed that they've taken the broken items and they still put them in the box and ship them out. Don't you think we should do something about that? Your supervisor might say, well, that's not my department. I don't know how processes work. I don't know who to go to. Sam, just let's stay focused on what we're doing because I don't know who to talk to. Right? So you need to have a process in which ideas can be put in there. And again, keep in mind, people are nervous about these ideas. You always have the outspoken person that stands up on a chair, broad ideas.
Right.
But there are a lot of people, most people will have ideas, but they're not sure. The world is complex. I don't know what constraints this company has. I don't know if there's legal issues we can't do. There's not. They're not going to want to stand up in a big theater and say, "Hey, I got this idea. It might be stupid, but here it is." No, most people will not do that. So
Right.
you need to provide them a safe place where they can say, I think we're putting products that are broken in boxes and shipping them out. I don't know though. I don't see what happens after they go out of the room. Maybe you automatically take them off. I don't know, but this is what I'm seeing, and it seems like we could, if we are actually shipping them out to people, that'd be a waste of money. And so now, if you give this safe environment, somebody can look at it, do some checking, and it turns out, no, we actually don't send them out. If there's reason to believe it's flagged and they're pulled off. And so they could tell me, no, Sam, don't worry. Company's already on it. We don't send them out, and there's a problem. Or conversely, you don't do anything. I mean, if the product's broken, well, that's the policy. The policy is if it's in the
Policy.
box,
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
send it out. Wow. And that costs us how much money? Well, usually about X amount of dollars, and plus customer calls and complaints and blah blah blah. So that's the first thing you need to do is set up a system. That's where we try to do with Inspire IP. Provide you a system so you can capture ideas in different places, whether it's a mobile app or whether it's in your if you use a Slack channel or Teams or something like that. Allow to easily put ideas in. Have a team that is sensitive to new ideas and understanding that probably have to do some analysis. Or if you have a team that's looking for patents, that team, the IP team, can take these ideas. We know that it's important for anybody who takes the time to put in an idea. We know it's important to keep them appraised of what's going on with that idea because I spent time. I thought it was important enough to put it in. If you don't ever tell me anything going on, then I'm going to think,
Then yeah, yeah.
what? I
That,
guess you didn't care. I didn't know. Well, you didn't care. All right, fine. Well, never mind. I'm not going to waste my time. I can have a longer lunch break, because that's I had to put it in during my lunch break. So yeah, so that's where you do it. The other piece is, like I said, about challenges. Challenges are so good not because you get ideas in a specific area that's important to the company, because you're educating your employees on what's
right.
important. Ah, I didn't realize cost was so important. Yeah, it really is an important thing. I didn't
Well, and
realize
you're also educating them that they can innovate,
that's right.
right? You're breaking that mold a little bit
I'm
of
actually telling you, Darren, your idea matters. If you have
yeah,
an idea, it
that's a big
matters. Your
deal.
opinion matters. Your perspective, your skill, your knowledge matters to the corporation, and that makes people feel good. We have we've done studies on some of our other customers, and asking employees, and they said, yeah, it makes a big difference. It really makes me feel good. It makes me feel a part of the company. And even if they, and then we were wondering, like, well, what happens if you don't? What happens if you can't be part of that challenge? What happens if it's a technical idea? Does that? And they're like, no, no, no. Even if we can't participate in the idea because maybe it's technical or we don't have any experience in that area, just hearing about it and learning about it makes us feel more a part of the company. Of course, we
Right.
want a challenge where we can participate in, but we feel good that the company even shared it with us.
All right. If I want to learn more about what you guys offer, because it sounds like you guys have tools and maybe some consulting and things like that to help organizations figure this out. Where does someone go to find out more about Inspire IP?
So you go to inspireip.com, or
Okay.
if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Sam-Zellner-IP, and just chat with me there, connect with me. Be glad to talk to you too. We love working with corporations, big or small, because we think innovation. I tell people innovation is just like exercise. I know everybody thinks they need to do it, but everybody says, "Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow." Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
problem
Yeah.
is, when you need to run that marathon, or when you need a new idea, it's too late to
It's too
start
late. Yeah.
trying.
Yeah. I mean, we when I was in business school, we talked about the proverbial buggy whip company.
Right, right,
Made the best buggy whips in the world.
there you go.
Who cares? How
Right,
often do you buy a buggy whip nowadays? You don't,
and getting
right?
back to your point about how many corporations have the next big thing and just let it slip through their hands. The Swiss watch people, they had the digital watch too, and they didn't. No, nobody would take an electronic watch. No, we
Oh,
don't do
people
that.
don't know this. Intel had the first cloud service provider. Intel was a cloud service provider 5 years, 6 years before Amazon did it.
Right. I mean,
Missed opportunity.
it's just missed opportunities like that. It's just
Yeah.
amazing. And what a perfect position Intel was in, and all these other people.
Yeah,
You know, just
there's a lot of crazy things in that space.
mhm.
So, hey, Sam, this has been wonderful talking about innovation. I don't get to talk about just straight up innovation that often. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Well, Darren, thank you, and I appreciate your podcast. I enjoy listening. Dr. Schmidt and a number of the other podcasts were really quite interesting. You have some very
Well, hey,
talented people
thank you
on your
very much. Get
podcast.
out there and share the word with everyone.
I
We got
will.
to get to 100,000 listeners. That's my big goal this year. Let's see if we can get us to 100,000 listeners. So spread the word, Sam.
Yeah. Also, let me just quickly throw in
Yeah.
PQAI, Project PQ.ai. It's an open source prior art search engine that anybody can use. It's free.
Awesome.
So it's available to anybody who'd like to use it. And encourage people.
I'm going to go out
And
and use that one.
if you text me or link with me on LinkedIn, I also give you a month free of the PQI Plus. It's a little bit better search engine capability.
Of course,
But I'll
yeah.
give you a free month of that service. So
Well,
$20
hey,
value.
there you go. See, Sam, selling your goods on my podcast. Way to go, man. Hey, it was a great conversation. Thanks again.
Thank you, Darren. I appreciate the opportunity. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Embracing Digital Transformation today. If you enjoyed our podcast, give it 5 stars on your favorite podcasting site or YouTube channel. You can find out more information about Embracing Digital Transformation at embracingdigital.org. Until next time, go out and embrace the digital revolution.